Welcome back to the channel. I will now be reviewing all of Sunday's action of Week 4 in the NFL, starting with the game in London between the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints. I did predict that the Vikings would win, but I did not predict that we'd have yet another double doink when it comes to a missed field goal that would have obviously pushed the game to overtime. So the Vikings just barely squeaked out with a victory when it came to their matchup against the Saints. They now move to 3-1, while the Saints unfortunately fall to 1-3. The next game had the Cleveland Browns and the Atlanta Falcons. I did predict that the Cleveland Browns would get the better of the Falcons, but unfortunately, the Falcons managed to prevail as both of these teams now sit at 2-2 heading into week number 5, I apologize. By far, one of the craziest comebacks I've seen in a long, long time. The Buffalo Bills got 20 unanswered points in the second half, or maybe even the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, to come back and defeat Baltimore. And what was an unbelievable game. As I said, I did predict the Bills to win. They finished with a 23-20 victory. They had now improved to 3-1, while the Ravens fall to 2-2. The Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys. What else can you say about Cooper Rush, other than the fact that this guy is a stud? Now 4-0 as the starter for the Dallas Cowboys. So whenever Dak comes back, what's going to happen? Do you go back to Dak? Do you keep up with this guy? I mean, now they are technically tied for second in their division with 3-1, while Washington unfortunately fell to 1-3. The final in that game was 25-10. And I did pick the Cowboys to win as well. The Seahawks and the Lions. I thought that the Lions would have got the victory, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. They did almost make a comeback in a wild 48-45 loss. They are now 1-3, while the Seahawks are at 500 with a 2-2 record. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Houston Texans. I did predict that Justin Herbert would prevail and get the team back to 500, as they are now sitting at 2-2, while the Texans are now the only winless team sitting at 0-3-1, still looking for their first victory of the season. The Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. I thought that Matt Ryan would have it in him to be able to prevail to get a victory for the Colts, but unfortunately it was not meant to be, as the Colts fall to 1-2-1, while the Titans climb back to 500 with a 2-2 record. The Chicago Bears and the New York Giants, and what had to be a wild final play of the game. And obviously you're looking for any type of miracle, but unfortunately it was not meant to be, as the Giants improved to 3-1, while the Bears fall to 2-2. I predicted that the Bears would win, but as I said, the Giants prevailed, and they are now tied for second in their division in the NFC East. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Philadelphia Eagles. Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Fields in what was an unbelievable game, as the Eagles dominated, you could say. 4 straight games, they are still undefeated at 4-0, while the Jacksonville Jaguars fall back to 500 at 2-2. The New York Jets and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers went through 2 quarterbacks. Unfortunately, they were not able to get the victory. I did predict that the Jets would win. I just felt that they had a little better team, in my opinion. Not great, but better. And I was mistaken, as Joe Flacco was not the starter. It was Wilson. And obviously he's the franchise quarterback of the team, so he'll only prevail from here as long as the other teams in the AFC East can lose. But for the time being, they're 2-2, and the Steelers fell to 1-3. The Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers, and a matchup that I predicted that the Cardinals would prevail. And sure enough, Kyler Murray got the team back to 500. Now, as long as they can not go win-lose type of thing, they should be able to contend for a playoff spot, while Baker Mayfield is still on the losing side of things, as the Panthers fall to 1-3. The New England Patriots and the Green Bay Packers, and what a wild game that was. It took overtime. It took to the last 4 seconds of overtime, as the Packers did manage to squeak out a victory at home, and they now improve to 1-3. While for the 3rd consecutive year, Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots start 1-3. And this is not looking too good, especially for a team that is trying to bounce back and get into the postseason. The Denver Broncos and I did pick the Packers to win as well. the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. I thought that Russell Wilson would have enough magic to get that victory over the AFC West rivals, but unfortunately it was not meant to be, as Derek Carr and Devontae Adams finally get their first win of the season, get the monkey off their back. They now sit at 1-3, while the Broncos fall back to 500 at 2-2. And the Sunday night game, what a wild game that was, as you had Patrick Mahomes taking on Tom Brady. The record against each other is 3-3, as Patrick Mahomes finally got a big win. And as the Chiefs prevailed, I do believe the score was 41-31. Yes, it was 41-31, in what was a wild, wild game in Florida. So the Kansas City Chiefs now improved to 3-1. They are sitting first in the AFC West, while the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall back to 500, sitting at 2-2, heading into Week 5. Until next time, take care.